Then I had one other thing I wanted to show here. This is from the city, and it's actually really, really interesting. What the city did, and you talk about studies from the city, what the city did was put together a map where they plotted every grocery store in the city. And so what we have here are just, there's Freshway, here is Acme and West Point Market. And depending upon the size of the store, they drew a circle around them, either at a mile radius, 1.5 mile radius, or a 2 mile radius. And you can see that whole, can you hold this up for me? This whole map is covered, okay. This whole map is covered by green, except for one spot, right there.
Actually, there are 3 spots, not
Yeah, you can see here, there's this little bit right there. Now this is the valley right there, that's just trees, all right? But I'm just gonna draw a box right there. What do you suppose that is right there?
Highland Square.
That would be Highland Square in West Hill, right there. So, I guess my question is, do we not deserve a grocery store if the rest of the city gets this level of coverage and we get nothing?
Well, I think
Then there's a disconnect.
I love that map.
It works in
but I
all
do
those
think-
other places.
I
Why
think
wouldn't it
you're
work?
being a
And
little
you find it-
disingenuous by your box.
Yeah.
Because what that represents is access to grocery based on some very loose assumptions about a large grocery store like Giant Eagle or Acme, 60,000 square feet, we figure would draw from about 2 miles. A smaller grocery store like West Point might only draw from 1 mile, which really isn't true because they're kind of specialized. They actually draw from, Rittman and from very far for specialty items like DeVitis. People drive from Cleveland, whatever.
But
Okay,
even
wait,
if you,
one more thing.
okay.
So that little area that you drew, you sort of centered. The really interesting point, since you brought this, is that see, and I always thought I shouldn't show this map because I figured that the conspiracy theorists would think that I brought this just to show how the particular corner that everybody's interested in having a grocery store is not the most needy area of the city with access to grocery. Because if you were to draw,
I have a giant marker right here.
okay, yes, and I have a tiny little pen. If you were to show, this is,
Don't trip on that.
yeah, this little gray line, well, that could get workers' comp.
Not so fast.
Danny, don't repeat
Not
that.
so fast
Oh,
again.
you don't want this anymore.
Exactly.
Ray, here, keep that to yourself. All right, so this little gray line here is Portage Path, okay? And this little gray line over here is Memorial. So this particular corner, guess what? It has access to groceries according to, the worldwide food access grocery gurus, that we look something up on a website. But these people over here, North and Silver, Maple Street, they don't have access. These people over here, this is south of Delia, they don't have access. So if you were going to try to do something, and if you were an expert in GIS, you could figure out, what the geographical center of all that is, and I have no idea how to do that. It's probably not here where we just drew this little box, but it's more like somewhere over, somewhere in between here and here.
But putting
I know,
even
that's
the
buyers.
smallest circle on there at that dot would cover the space.
It probably would, but it would still leave out, if you were to draw on this circle, if you were to do something like this, let's just see, the circle that, you would still leave these people out. Who is that? That is North and like about, North of Hickory, St. V's area. Not that this means that this tells you exactly where a grocery store should be, but it I don't think is.
But it gives an idea of coverage, and even if you were to expand
And
every
then-
one of those
and then
circles
what
by
about
twice
these
as
people
much,
over here on
the
Emmett?
least coverage would still be.
When they get the
necessary.
copy of the grocery map, there's people down here in Emmett, and this is over here by the bus barn on Kenwood.
There's nobody to live in there.
Distract people.
Okay, right here is
Portage Path and Market Street. And so I'm gonna do this by eye, but if I do a circle, half-mile radius around there, it gets 90% of that open area.
Well, if I could, I don't think the question is whether or not there's, I think this is interesting, and I think it brings something to the discussion, but the challenge is to find someone who's willing to operate a grocery store.
It's still
And
Why do
however
you
many
have to
green
have-
circles there are of lights.
Why do you have to have an operator
Someone to be
before you?
willing, that you will work with to fit it in there. That's the question.
Albrecht Incorporated has been and continues to work with the city with all of
What
those.
that he was talking about, why can't they work with them?
I
We
think
did work,
agree
we
with
did
Todd's
work
very fine.
with Freshway Market.
Yeah.
I don't know when Ron talked to Bob Fowley, but some of the facts in there just aren't accurate.
Well, I
We
mean,
never-
maybe Bob lied to me,
No, we're not. So we're
but
not
I don't,
saying
you know,
we're
but
not.
between the two, between you and Bob, I'm gonna stick with Bob.
That's fine, but
He's a
but
nice
that's
guy.
not, that's not the.
Excuse me,
Yeah,
I
just
don't,
It
raise
does
your
like-
hand or wave your hand.
Well,
my head's gonna explode.
I'm sorry.
Let's,
Okay.
May I please?
Well, hold on 1 second about the Bob Fowley Freshway issue. Your comment that we all of a sudden amped the rent back up to $22 a square foot, I mean, that just never happened. In fact, we never got to the point where we had a solid negotiation about rent or about any type of subsidy that the city could offer.
Actually,
I'm telling you, the
Mr.
man looked me in the
Fowley-
eye and said you did, so.
Ron, there are two people in this room who were at that meeting and I
And Mr.
wanted to
Fowley
talk.
is a very nice man, I enjoy talking to him, but he has, to date, not made an application for any kind of loans to the city.
May I please?
Yes.
You gotta look at it.
I've been involved with this whole, my name's Lisa Bostwick. And I was president of the I'm the one who uncovered the theater, demolition permit for the theater, and then that led to this thing with the grocery store and Mr. Fowdy and the whole kit and caboodle. We can beat a dead horse until it's turned to ash and gone. It's not gonna get us anywhere, and I think there's a very valid point. This whole thing is just right. Conspiracy theorists, all of it, everybody's got a little say-so in this. Everybody has a story. I've been doing a lot of research, and I mean a lot, and I have a couple points I want to bring up, because I think this would help the situation. One of them is, things are changing. We don't need the parking like we used to. We've got to get people out of cars. Everyone knows that. The obesity study came out for the state of Ohio. They are pushing for smart growth. They're pushing for people to come back to the urban core. 18% of our children are overweight, and 17% are obese. I know I eat relatively healthy. I mean, we've got some serious problems here. That map does not show that I've been doing a food desert map of Akron and overlaying it with the foreclosures and the crime. And no, we don't need a grocery store in Highland Square as bad as many neighborhoods do. But we still deserve one, because we have a large population who do not own cars to begin with, and to ask them to get on and off a bus. Can you imagine getting on and off the bus if you have a stroller and a toddler in tow and you've got to go get groceries? You would spend every other day doing it because you can't carry enough back. I'm going to put a proposal out there, and just everybody can tell me I'm taking it over, don't care. What if there's a program that's been done and use HUD money to open corner grocery stores, little small ones. I mean, just like go back to your roots. So the original Acme buildings are still all over town. And in neighborhoods where people need access to fresh, healthy, locally grown food, we could help build a local economy that's less vulnerable to outside winds on just the grocery store issue.